Welcome to the Natural Genius podcast. We're here to help you tap into your natural genius. Let's go. Lucas Maddy has a fantastic combination of skills that you might need at the moment. He's technically wise, curious, very practically wise, having been raised on a farm. He is a quiet, aware, and sometimes loud as a musician person. We met at network school in 2025 and he put on Man Camp, a workshop series that taught practical skills, and it was so amazing to see the transformation in participants. He was like a brother, uncle, dad figure to many, and that covered not just the practical wisdom, it also covered the psychological, providing a listening ear to many. And he also put on the School of Rock as a musician, helped to get the musical sounds pumping on a Thursday night. An amazing all-rounder. I hope you enjoy this lovely conversation with Lucas Maddy. Lucas, welcome to the Natural Genius podcast.
Thank you.
We were just talking about camping out last week, you and a dear friend of ours in California.
Yeah.
I was reflecting prior to us catching up about how you played a father, uncle, brother role to many when you ran your man camp at network school and taught people practical wisdom and also provided a listening ear. It still goes on, my friend, with a camping trip last week. Tell me what you loved about that experience of running the madness that was man camp and why you did it.
Yeah. Running man camp at network school, it's the most natural thing that I've ever done, as far as I was just doing what I thought needed to be done. There was a sauna that needed to be put together. There was a cold plunge that needed to be set up. There were things that needed to be moved. And I knew how to turn a wrench. And so, they came to me and asked me to put together a curriculum, make it something that would be worthwhile. And I got to basically just teach all the stuff that my dad taught me, right? But also do it with an intention of taking something of wisdom from it. Like when you're a digital creator, making copies is really cheap. You can try and iterate again and again and again for effectively no cost. But if you're making a table, that would cost a lot of money. Those screws cost money. It's a lot of time. And so, measure twice, cut once, like you have to be cognizant of your resources. And as that applies to life, like cognizant of your time as a resource, the only thing that you can't get more of. So I wouldn't say that man camp was entirely madness, but it was hilarious. Like I remember giving a power drill to an Indian kid, and I go, like, okay, like screw this screw into this board. And he put the screw on the board like you'd put a nail up there, and he took the drill and you started beating the screw with it. And I was like, oh, no, this is not how this works. So,
Lucas, sorry to interject. The madness that I was referring to was the logistics beforehand, trying to get all of the different inventory that you needed prior to starting.
Found myself in the back alley of Joe Horbaru I pet a stray dog and it bit me. That was hilarious. I made friends with this old man that was running an equipment store, and he made me sit there and eat crackers. What did I have? Crackers and nuts, I think, while he went and got all this stuff. And then just like learning about the difference in quality. So like things that I would just never in my mind imagine could be a worthy product. Like I bought work gloves. And he told me, well, these work gloves are intended to be used one time and then thrown away because they're made out of like scraps and plastic and all sewn. Like each glove was like 80 different pieces of like scrap, or like it just looked like somebody had taken trash and sewn it together. Or I got jacks in order to hold up a car so that we could change the tire on a car. And he said, well, these are Malaysian jacks. You're going to use these 3 or 4 times and you're going to throw them away because they're going to go bad. I'm like, this is the thing that's supposed to keep a car from falling on me, and you're telling me it's disposable? Like, yeah. So there's a, but that's what, when you have a society like that, where a kingdom like that, where basically everything is taken care of for you, and granted, it's not done incredibly well, but you don't have to do it. You end up with these instances where people just lose the ability to take care of themselves. Um, I searched for when I so the you remember this, but being over there,
Yeah.
the Amazon equivalent in Malaysia is called Lazada. It's like where you go
Mm.
online to shop for things. And I needed rope because we were going to make lariats, and I needed nails because we were going to hammer stuff in. And
Mm.
I searched nails, and the only thing that came back was acrylic press-on nails for women. Like, literally just couldn't buy nails because people don't do projects like that. I searched rope, and the only thing that came back was rope for like bondage, like BDSM stuff. It's like, yeah, it's a big difference from being in Kansas, just being able to drive up to a hardware store
Oh
and get
my
what you need,
gosh.
you know?
Do you think in Malaysia that they've lost the ability, or do you think that they might have had other skills and other ways of being able to do things? Because my experience in Asia is lots of ingenuity and innovation because they
Yeah,
just put stuff together and
the black market.
make things
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah, things that people they're just forced to by necessity. Asia, I think, is a lot like this. In the United States, is becoming much more like this, but I don't think it's necessarily that they lost it. I think it's that they traded that ability.
Mm,
I'm gonna trade the responsibility of maintaining my systems and building my fence and fixing my car. I'm
mm,
gonna I'm gonna trade that for some sort of security or comfort that you say you provide. And I think it was Benjamin Franklin. I can't remember who it was that said, those that would trade a little freedom for security deserve neither and will get neither. Because once you
mm,
start handing over your freedom, anything that you outsource to somebody else, they're going to do it in a way optimized to their incentives, not yours. Right. So,
mm,
like, think about like universal healthcare. Like, it's a great idea. It's a fantastic idea, but it gets
mm.
optimized in a different direction towards whoever the administrator is.
Yeah,
You
I
can
see.
you get your free, but you may
Mm,
wait 2 years for it, or whatever,
mm,
or it may just be shit quality, right?
mm,
And that's kind of the same thing. Or like in America, where people eat out all the time and they get fast food and stuff. It's like, I'm going to trade the time that it takes me to prepare food, but what I get in return is obviously a lower quality product that is
mm,
slowly poisoning me. So
mm.
yeah, everything's a trade-off.
And so interesting for you too, Lucas, having grown up on a farm because you've had that practical wisdom and knowledge that you've developed from an early age, and then you've added other skills and learnings and experience on top of that. Many don't have that start in life to be able to sort of be aware, and that's what Man Camp was about, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really fortunate. I didn't think about it growing up. It felt the opposite, right? Like, it felt like everybody else had like a big screen TV and a trampoline and a Nintendo, and we didn't have any of that. And I was always jealous of that. And I wanted that stuff. But
Mhm,
um, then when you leave that and you go traverse the real world,
mm,
um, it having that grounding in, like, and it's a Bitcoin thing, but just like proof of work, having that grounding in, like, doing the work to get the result, as opposed to trading away your security, trading away your freedom, trading away your responsibility or rights or whatever. You just see that everywhere, and you just look at, like, this is just ludicrous. Like, like we were talking earlier, like the modern workplace now is 90% of your job is listening to other people talk about what they did, telling other people what you did. And then the remaining 10% is when you actually do your job. But mostly it's just, I heard somebody call the modern workplace adult daycare. And there's just no way that I can ever think of it in any other way now. Like, the company I work for, they put up a leaderboard of who used the most emojis on Slack, and like it's like, when you're a kindergartner and they have the little stickers, or your first grader or whatever, they have the little stickers for who the good kids are. It's like, that's it.
Lucas.
If it was me, I
You
would
might,
just be like, those are the 10 people that you should fire immediately. Like, clearly they are not working. like, like they've just
or
identified
maybe they're
themselves.
just a bit more emotionally led. You said before that the current role that you're doing, Bitcoin was cheap, so you wanted to
Yeah,
find some work.
that was my
Um,
motivation.
that motivation, Lucas, would be in a minority, and it is so fascinating to hear. I'd love others to hear it. We're in this like real kind of fragmented, disrupted time where there's the madness of like people trying to get AI agents to work for them, and sometimes that can lead to loads of looping, and sometimes it can lead to loads of success of being able to automate stuff, and then it can actually help people both with their role but also to transform business areas and businesses, and build new businesses from all vibe coding stuff that's happening as well. And kind of the old school businesses for the last 20, 30 years, like their style that still keeps on going, and then they're adding in digital on top of that. And so the 90% you referred to before, and of communicating and letting people know, and the 10% of getting stuff done. It just feels like a really interesting time in business. And
It's an
yeah.
identity. Yeah. It's an identity crisis. As you are initiating these AI agents and working with, collaborations, I'm going to
Mm,
collaborate with AI. What you're doing is you are systematically compartmentalizing your role into things that, on the whole of it, you thought it was like, this is my job, I do this.
mm,
But when you incorporate these agents and work with additional systems, then what you find is that basically your role is just a bunch of discrete tasks that are all automatable, and that you are effectively the error in the system. You're the thing that keeps it from working efficiently. And the more of yourself that you can get out of it, the more efficiently it'll work. Now, efficient is not necessarily good, right? Like Burger King's efficient, McDonald's is efficient, but
indeed.
it's not good.
Mm,
Um, and so that's why you end up with this. You have a lot of people, especially in the United States. Well, I won't even say. I will say, especially in the United States. Um, when you meet somebody, you ask them, "Who are you?" and they respond with what they do, not who they are. I'm
mm,
a lawyer. I'm an accountant. I do insurance. I'm a doctor. Whatever. That's not who they are. It's where they trade. It's the place where they trade their time in order to
mm,
get resources to substantiate a lifestyle. But it's not who you are as a person. It's not, like, don't you have a hobby? Like, do you fly fish? Do you crochet? Do you do anything? Like, the point of living is not to, you know, what we're finding out. Yeah, see, there you go. So you crochet. So, but when you're living is basically you're you're sacrificing your time to get some money
mm,
to support whatever lifestyle you want to lead. And
mm,
we're just all increasingly living the same lifestyle, right? We're watching the same stuff. We're eating the same food. Everybody's trying to live in this, like, all houses look alike, cars all look alike. Like that's why, like, a Cybertruck stands out, because it doesn't look like anything else. But it's this unmooring from solid ground of what you thought you were. Like, if you place your entire existence upon being a doctor, or
mm,
being a diagnostician, that's a great example. Like, being a diagnostician, and then here's an AI update that actually does your job way better, like, not just a little bit better, but way better.
mm,
And it does it for one millionth of the cost, and it does it all night long, and it never complains, it never gets sick, it never gets sad, it never has a bad day. um, then how do you, who you've defined yourself by, I am this, I am what I
mm,
do, when you realize that what you do is just this set of discrete automatable tasks, then how do you come to grips with that change in reality? And it's it necessitates a return to consciousness and experience,
Oh,
actually experiencing something.
so well said. And sometimes I've used the example of a nurse in the middle of the night, partway through their, halfway through their midnight shift, when people are really not convinced about, when they've got the real dystopian view of bots or robots or AIs, I sort of tease them with, how's the empathy in the middle of the night, halfway through a night shift of a nurse, that if it was a robot? I think we're heading into really different perspectives. And I often say it's like social media years gone by. Like, people were so against it, and now it's prolific, and people have their good and bad views on it, but it is integrated in lots of ways, or digital, not just social media. And so I wonder also, from what you were saying, that the consciousness piece is interesting, because what I'm noticing personally with AI agents is that if I can get that efficiency going, then I find that I'm tapping into more parts of my brain or soul or consciousness than I may have been before. And you just said before, have you got a hobby? And yeah, I really do think that this next phase in humanity is actually getting deeper into what the individual desires, or who they are. Like, just if you can, and I sort of reflect on the industrial age and then the digital age, and then just think, I still think back to those cartoons of the early 90s that had the guy at work with his feet on the desk because the computer was doing it all for him. And I'm like, come on, well, let's bring back that attitude. Like, let's get back to the start of the 90s, when suddenly now we've got AI agents and other things that can actually bring about the automation. And then we get deeper into the soul or consciousness of each individual.
Yeah, but let's get away from the computer, and let's get away from the desk, and let's go outside. The like you bring up the great example is the Industrial Revolution, and the great story of like John Henry, who was battling the steam drill to see who could be, and in the end he won, but then he collapsed and died, right? And the thing is, these things, you actually cannot fight them. But you also do have a choice, and your choice is to be captured by them or to use them, right? So you can use social media and mindlessly scroll, and it's weaponized for that. It's very good at extracting your attention. Or you can use it as a platform in order to give yourself financial freedom. This difference between consuming versus creating is really important, because for some people, social media is a tool of liberation. You see these accounts from like Africa and South America and China, people in Indonesia, all over these tiny villages, and they don't have anything. They don't have dirt floors. They don't have shoes, but they've got a cell phone and they've got an internet connection, and they're suddenly able to create vast amounts of revenue from that by using it, but only by being a creator, not by being a consumer. Nobody gets rich or happy or healthy. Nobody has a good relationship. No, like, consuming social media does not make your life better, but producing it does. And I think it's just in the act of producing, that, like, when I make music, I actually really like that music is freely accessible, because I don't make my music to make money on music. I make my music because I enjoy the feeling of playing music, and it is an experience that it's an experience that's amplified the more people whose energy joins in to listen, to participate, so, but again, it's back to that consciousness, that experience of actually doing the thing, that has value. It's not the putting it for sale or whatever that has value. It's the act of actually doing the thing.
It popped into my mind when you were talking about that experience of music, doing yoga in a group class versus doing it at home.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
it always used to amaze me that I could do so much more when I was in a group class.
Yep. You feel the energy, and like, especially if you're doing a type of yoga that's like a set, like I used to do a lot of hatha yoga, right? So it's the same 28 positions, and it's a set routine. And there would be days when the group was incredible and everybody was rock solid and everybody was hitting. And then there would be days where one person would start to wobble and another person, and you could just see it move through the room, right? I completely agree.
And it's so funny, actually. I should bring this into the conversation because it's very timely. So I've just recently started rock pool swimming, which before you and I catch up, I couldn't help myself. It was so beautiful. It's at dawn, and it's the natural rock pool that's formed that here in Australia, one of the councils maintains. And there's something about the collective there. There's strangers or regulars that turn up there, Lucas. And so there's like a hello, what's the temperature today? And da, da, da. So sorry, I don't know Fahrenheit, but in Celsius, it's somewhere between 14 and 19. So we're sort of
pretty warm.
Start of the winter here.
Oh.
And and then but one of the things that I've noticed in terms of like going back to talking about the collective in music and in yoga is that I've had two amazing reactions to that, Lucas. I've like felt the cold on my feet. It's really kind of, what? Okay. And then I'm stepping down, I'm going down steps, and then I'm launching myself into the salt water, and I just feel my whole being going, oh my God, I'm in salt water. Because often you go for a swim in chlorine or,
Yeah.
And then I just feel my being just get so excited. And then I look down through my goggles and I can see fish.
Yeah.
And like those two things, you're talking about needing to be in life and in the experience. They're just such joyful experiences. And I think that we're getting into an age where we're going to have devices like little bits of technology around us. And I think also there is this drive to want to have these experiences in nature and getting out of away from the blue screen or the blue light or the screens. Tell me more about how life is for you now after so many different experiences, because you've traveled, you've been a musician, you've worked in finance, you've been in Web3, you've lived in co-living places like Network School. Tell me about life.
Yeah. Life is finding its way as it should. I think you just constantly iterate to find the thing that suits you. And what suits me now is I bought an awesome tent. I've lived in my college apartment was smaller than my tent. So it's like a massive luxury. And I've got a nice little camp stove.
Can you stand up in this tent, Lucas?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh
because you're a tall man, so that's a good sign.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It sleeps. I think it sleeps 6 people is what it says. So it's way big. It's huge for me. But no, just this this stage of my life where I am back in a corporate role, and so I do have to look at eat electronic shit all day long is what my buddy says. But the blue screen of death. You're just staring at a computer screen all day. And so how do I balance that and stay somewhat in tune to nature? It's not by living in a basement or in a big high rise. I've been camping for 2 weeks now and I have no intention of stopping. So I can go out there and watch the sunset, get up and play guitar, got kettlebells, got myself a little camp stove, got a Starlink so that when I need to connect to the world, I can. So, yeah, I mean,
Extraordinary.
yeah, you want to see the sky at night. You want to remember that there's stars. You want to be able to sit and feel the wind on your skin and hear the birds. And um, I remember making a comment to somebody that it's crazy that I can identify a vehicle driving by, and I can tell you whether it's an 8-cylinder, a 6-cylinder, or a 4-cylinder. I can definitely tell you if it's gas or diesel, and I might even be able to tell you if it's a Chevy or a Ford or a Dodge, but I can't recognize birds by their sound. And one of those things is useful in life, and the other is not. And um, I think if we make an effort to be able to recognize more bird calls and fewer notification calls, like, oh, ding, that's my Instagram, ding, that's my Teams, that's my Slack, whatever, because they all have slightly different tones. I look for a world where technology continues to progress, but the way that it progresses is by receding, is by
Mm,
removing itself from being this thing that I hold in my hands and I use my
mm,
thumbs to talk, which it was completely unnatural, right? Or
mm,
um, having to carry around this thing that I've got to talk to you on.
mm,
Uh, I look to a future where technology recedes further and further into the periphery, and it
mm.
allows us to be more human. And I know that there are people that are working on that. So I hope that they're the ones that I hope they find success. Yeah. But
Yeah,
if
I
they
can
if
imagine
they
that they
don't,
will.
yeah, if they don't, then we still need to, you still need to take responsibility for yourself and
Mm,
remember that your phone has an off button and use it every
mm,
day. Yeah.
mm. Tell me, for those listening that don't know much about blue screens or don't know much about the effects, why do you and your friend talk about needing to get away from them?
Yeah. So
I mean, you and I are both fans of Jack Cruz and
Uncle
some of
Jack.
that thinking. Uncle Jack. Tell me more.
So, and this isn't just from learning from him, but from a lot of other, you know, research papers that I don't read the paper, but I'll read the abstract, and just see, what's the effect here. Um, there's actual physical effects, like people are developing astigmatism, so they're developing misshapen
Mm,
eyeballs because they're constantly focusing on something that's like 6 inches to 2 feet away, and so you're losing your ability to focus at long distances, which, by
mm,
the way, is probably the thing that made humans able to survive, right? Is like we're predators. We have eyes in the front. We're able to
mm,
see things far away, and then we also have the cognition to plan, to avoid or to attack or whatever. So that's one of them. But then there's the dysregulation of your central nervous system by an outside force, and that goes for everything. It's not Blu-rays, it's X-rays, it's Wi-Fi, it's
mm,
any sort, like, these things literally are waves of energy. They do impact your central nervous system. Um, no one can tell you that they are harmless because they have not existed long enough for a lifelong study of any sort of
mm,
magnitude. And then lastly, you just know it experientially. You spend all
mm,
day on a computer screen, you've got no energy to do anything. Like, you just sit and you're listless and you want to watch Netflix and order in. Um,
mm,
Whereas if you're off, take your calls on your phone, use a headset or whatever, walk in nature, whatever. Like,
mm, mm,
movement begets movement. Once you overcome
mm,
the inertia of sitting still, the more you move, the more you move, and the more you move, the better you feel. So,
mm.
yeah.
I've noticed the difference when I am on the screen. I'll try and get sunlight in my eyes first thing in the morning,
Hmm.
and if I'm on the screen more, I need my glasses more. Whereas if I'm not on the screen very much, I don't need my glasses.
Yep. Yep.
It's just such an obvious observation or hack. Like, I'd rather not have to use glasses.
Right.
So and it's so fun because where I am at the moment, there's lots of I don't know if you have these birds in America. They're called willy wagtails here. They're black and white and they're cute. They're just little. You must have a look on Google when we're finished our conversation. But they're little tiny ones with black and white, and then their tail just sort of swings.
Okay.
And so but they keep on. They're coming closer and closer. And also we've got birds called cockatoos, and
Yep.
there's I sometimes see, I think that they might be red-tipped tails and definitely yellow-tipped. I think they're red-tipped. They fly in pairs, and I've recently seen just over maybe the course of about 3 weeks, 2 pairs flying together twice, different times.
Mhm.
And then yesterday I saw 3 yellow-tipped black cockatoos, and I got online and I was having a look at what they're known for, and they are known to, like, eat the top of, uh, like, the canopy, so that and there was some words around them being, like, the cleaners or something like that, and it was so sweet to sort of think of what role they play because they've got such a, strong bird song, uh,
Yeah.
quite unique, and, they're rare in my world. I haven't seen a lot of sightings of them, and, but it's nice to kind of, as you say, get to know the different bird song, and also being, like, by the coast where I am at the moment, there's, sea eagles, so it's fun to be able to
Oh,
see the
cool.
bigger birds of prey, and oftentimes when I'm traveling too, Lucas, I'll look up when I'm on highways because often it's where the birds of prey are, so
Mhm.
you can often see these beautiful circling, eagles or other types. So tell me more about your travels, Lucas, and I think that you're such a interesting person around your awareness. Like, no wonder you could provide a listening ear to many in your band camp, man camp at Network School because you're a good listener and also you've had lots of life experience. So tell me about life now. Like, what are you enjoying other than the tent, and uh, how? I guess maybe even what are your aspirations these days around what you'd like to see in your own life or what you'd like to see
Mhm.
in the world? Well, there's probably a lot online about what you'd like to see in the world, having with being a podcaster.
Um, those are good questions though, because like, what do you want your life to be is a lot better question than like, what are you trying to achieve, whatever like that. What are you building? Um, because again, like we go back to the earlier discussion of like all the things that you're building are going to be rebuilt, and somebody's going to perfect it. And they're going to do it for 1/1000th of the cost. So you can't hinge your identity on what you do. You have to do something that creates an identity for you
Mm,
that is uniquely you. And like for me, I found myself there's this intersection of I really like wisdom in easily accessible sayings. So I really like quotes. I really like to think about like um, that there's a saying, it's like, I wrote you a letter. If I'd had more time, it would have been
gosh.
shorter, right? Like
And you're a songwriter as well, aren't you, Lucas?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
great, great.
yeah, so like this intersection of like the beauty of words and music, being a songwriter, and then
Mm,
also of kind of just, I guess, taking a very sober view of what's coming.
mm,
This accelerating, um, exponentially accelerating AI, robotics. Nick Land is the guy who identified this, and maybe somebody did before him. But if you combine artificial intelligence and digital money and robotics, then what you've created is a loop of capital that doesn't require human input. And so um, humans are the error in that system, which is great, by the way, because that system really sucks.
mm,
That system of maximizing money, it really sucks. And like I feel like I can speak confidently on this because
I think you can. I
I
was just
well, I
thinking
mean,
that.
I grew up I didn't grow up, like, if you compare me to people from, third world countries, then I grew up like a king, but, in the US, I was fairly poor. Um, grew
Oh,
up in a
Lucas, sorry to
trailer house and
interrupt.
stuff like that. Go ahead.
I was thinking you came from a perspective of a learned perspective on that because you've gone so deep into money. Like, you've gone so deep
Yeah,
into Web3 as well as your upbringing.
that too. Right, yeah, so but, like, having having had the experience of not having much and having had the experience of having, more than I need, um, then what I consistently see is that people that don't have much are happier, and people that have more than they need are confused and they are conflicted. And so yeah, just this idea, this system, this market, um, it feels natural because we grew up in it, but also the dollar felt natural because you grew up in it, and then you came to realize that that was just a lie. Like, it's just an actual lie backed by violence. Um, And it turns out that there does exist a different way, and we all get to
Mm.
explore that different way kind of on our own. So, like my past, like I was a wealth advisor, I was a banker, I worked for startups in sales. Um, Working in sales gives you a great insight into human psychology and relationship building and understanding trust and um,
Mm.
people think of sales as this like short-term boiler room type of thing. But the truth is that if you break somebody's trust, they just won't do business with you again.
Mm.
And so you have to learn how to just be, high integrity, high agency. Be a person of your word. Do what you
Did you have to
say what
learn
you
that
do.
though, Lucas? I wonder if growing up on a farm, being around a small community, you might
Yeah,
have
man.
needed to have integrity from the start.
Yeah, like so it's different. Yeah, that like you grew up in a small town, like they know your name and you carry the sins of your grandfather or your father with you because like, whatever dumb shit your dad did in high school, they think that you're the same thing. Or,
Never
if
thought of that.
oh yeah. Oh yeah, oh, that's the
Just
Maddy
thinking
boy,
about it for
right?
you.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
my gosh,
Yeah, like
wow.
the feud, like the Hatfields and McCoys is this famous American feud between 2 families, and there's versions of that everywhere, and, every little town just runs on gossip and stuff like that. So you do, like, how do you avoid that is, yeah, you gotta stay in line. Of course, nobody
Mm.
stays in line, so everybody's got gossip.
So you were talking about integrity. I'm sorry to interrupt. I get excited.
No, anyways, yeah, like, just, you're right, like, being from a small town actually did help me a lot with that because you just learn how to talk to people, because that
Yes.
you
Yeah,
get to talk to people, I
yeah.
feel for people that grew up in an apartment building, they didn't know their neighbors, and they know their butcher and their baker or whatever, and that's about it, and the kids at school, like,
Mhm.
in town, everybody knows, in a little farm town, everybody knows you. But, yeah, as far as, like, how it applies to, like, taking that further, like being in sales, and working that, it's all of sales is just like forming relationships with people. People do business with those that they
Mm.
know, they like, and they trust, and they first have to get to know you. And so
Mm.
that's why, I see a lot of people they're writing emails with ChatGPT or with Grok or something like that, and they're sending a lot, and they're because they send a lot, they get a certain amount of responses, but um, your response, your rate in so like for me, in terms of like I was always like exceptionally high at what you call closing. So like you get a prospect,
Mm.
to take a prospect to be a customer, it would usually take in the financial industry, it usually takes like between 6 and 11 touches is what they say, like reaching out. And for
Sure.
me, I would do it in like 2 or 3. Um, Pretty consistently,
Mm.
and that's translated, and it's just because I you just have to really not give a crap about the outcome and just be engaged with the person in the moment. Um,
Mm.
just care enough about them to give them your attention, right? And
Mm.
that has yet to be perfectly simulated, and I think it probably will be to a certain extent, but the thing is, it still isn't gonna help you with the things that you really want, and, like, what do I really want? Well, I really want a family, I really want a wife, I really want children, I
Mm,
I really want, a little farm, I really want, those things, and, uh, AI is not gonna help me form a
mm,
relationship with somebody that way, so, yeah, you have to look outside. It's crazy.
mm,
By the way, I realized this today, I was reading a book, and, like, the term offline, it's a
mm,
thing now, and
mm,
the assumed is online, like, nobody talks about being online anymore. You used to, in the '90s, you'd talk about being online, but now it's just that the default is being online, and the weird thing is being offline, and you need to, I think, structure your life so that being online is the weird thing and being offline
mm,
is natural, because, otherwise, then you fall into
mm,
screens, you fall into algorithms, and you lose your grip on not just reality, but
mm,
literally who you are. This underlying
mm.
anxiety that's throughout the world.
So do you reckon, I mean, this has been such an amazing conversation. I love this format, and I wonder if, having been a podcaster, you can completely understand, another friend that we met at network school said he must, when he was talking about natural genius, he was saying, "Oh, I must start mine again because the ROI was 10 times." Like, he just
Mm,
said that it was just so much more than he might have expected running a podcast. So, and this conversation is just another example of the pleasure of wonderful conversations. Do you think that to me, I sense that you're settled, Lucas. Have you got a beautiful pride about how much you've done and contributed and who you've been in life? I think
no.
there's so much at network school. You've got to be so proud of so many things that you created there. I don't know whether you can be objective enough about yourself to see that.
Um, I don't think about it. I don't really
Mm.
think about that at all. I access it when it's useful. So, like, it is it is very impressive to other people to say, "I worked
Uh-huh.
for Balaji Srinivasan." That is very impressive to other people to hear. And so I guess I use that when I have to.
Mm.
But no, I mean, look, like, you gotta be, if you start getting pride's a really horrific sin. Like, it's a bad thing. It's genuinely the bad thing. It's good to be, I think, it's good to look at the things you've done as evidence that you can do other things, but pride in itself is pretty useless. I think humor is way more useful, like,
What
on the
was that you
face,
think humor is?
humor. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, like, you could,
tell me more.
well, like, I can talk about, like, I worked for David Friedberg, at Climate Corporation, and I worked for Balaji Srinivasan at the Network State, and I created this, man camp, and I created a music series that's still going, that's, blossomed into this huge thing, and,
Mm,
um, we had so many cool moments, but, um, you know, like, I'm a dude camping in the woods. That's all I am. I'm a dude with a guitar camping in the woods. I got some Bitcoin, and I like to read books. Like, it's funny to think of it that way, because then it's like, I was just saying that with no expectations, there can be no failure. And having no expectations is really good, because
mm,
then you can be surprised by anything, and surprise tends to be something that we view as good. Um,
mm,
Whereas if you go into things with expectations, like, "Oh, I've done this, I've closed this many big deals, and I manage this much money, and I've got a fancy suit, and I've got a fancy who gives a shit?" That just makes you boring. Again, you're talking about the things that you did as opposed to who you are. And, like me, I'm just a guy camping in the woods with a guitar and a book, you know?
Do you think that pride can come from your own metrics or your own, so
Uh, I think
yeah.
I know what you're saying, but, I think so. Like, I agree, actually. So there's a sense. I think what you're talking about is less pride and more fulfillment. Like a
Mm,
sense of fulfillment is something that you can get regardless of who's watching. You know, if you
mhm,
did something well, right?
mm,
But I think pride is more of like it's kind of like pricing. It's like a comparison metric. It's what we use to say, oh, this person did this, I did this. How well does that match up to it? As opposed
mm,
to, I'm in my house. Here's a door. This door is not hanging correctly. I'm going to rehang the door, and now it closes perfectly. I have a sense of fulfillment from that, and that is a
mm,
source. It is a source of pride, but it's not the kind of pride that you put on your
mm,
LinkedIn.
mm. It reminds me about this kind of thinking around AI agents and going deeper into who we are through using them. And I was with an elder recently, and she was saying that in each moment, I look for more humility.
Mm.
And don't you just love having great role models around? I feel you mentioned before that short, like quotes and short words, that's like such a beautiful through line for me right now. How do I bring more humility into each moment? It's just the coolest. So when
Yeah.
I'm thinking about um, fulfillment or pride, yeah, it's a nice one. I wanted to say that to you, Lucas. Those words around pride because it's uh, it's always lovely to see in different friends their satisfaction or peace with themselves or a settled feeling because I seem to surround myself with people who get a lot of things done and do a lot of things in life.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if I have a source of pride, I would say it's probably the friends that I have. I know some extraordinary
Mm,
people, and, that's really cool, and that's probably the thing that I can say is probably, if it is in any way a reflection of who I am, to be
mm,
associated with good people, then that's certainly a source of pride. I like the humility thing. I really do. Like, another one is
mm,
another little saying is like, what would your 85-year-old self think of you right now? Like the action that you're
mm,
about to take, the decision that you're about to make. There's a reason why so much wisdom comes from so many old people. It's because
mm,
they've gotten it figured out. Like, if you can go through life and still have meaning and purpose at the end of it, then you've obviously done something in order to orient your perspective of the world, to give you
mm,
that peace. And yeah, to find humility would be to constantly seek humility, would be a fantastic use of anyone's time. And also, by the way, just look to the older people for not just your cues on wisdom, but look to them for how to live your day. They get up early. They go to bed early. They quit eating early. They're active in the morning. They rest in the
mm,
afternoon. This is a good thing.
mm,
Your body has a rhythm. Your biology has a rhythm. Some of it is trained,
mm,
but some of it is circadian. Some of it's natural. You do need to rest, and you do have periods of the day where you're cognitively sharper. You have periods of the day where your body is um, more ready to move, and so
mm.
try and align with those natural occurrences. Yeah.
That's one of the things I've loved seeing on X or Twitter in the last, what would it be, few weeks. It comes and goes. It's a bit like different topics around Bitcoin or other crypto. If you've been in it for a while, you're used to seeing the sort of disruptive comments come up, similar comments come up each few years. But on X recently, I've really enjoyed seeing people talk about productivity from a point of view of rest
Hmm.
and recharge. So I just this week changed my day to 3 lots of 90-minute sprints with 20 minutes to 30 minutes in between. And yeah, I'm trying that as a hack, especially from the point of view of screen time as well.
Yeah.
I think that that could work well with your 90%.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. Yeah, exactly. But that only, your sprints only work if those times in between you put your phone down, you leave your laptop, you walk away, and then the times outside of that, you're completely off of it. I actually, I think this is a great recommendation. Set your phone to black and white and put it on satellite mode, like airplane mode, so that it can't send or receive. And then if you want to, use it just as a camera, because when it's set to black and white, you get a better view of contrast and you'll take way better pictures because you won't be distorted by the colors. But then you can have your camera, but you're also not subject to this constant ping, ping, ding, ding. My phone has been on Do Not Disturb since 2022, and I have no intention of changing it.
22.
Yeah,
oh,
there's been
wild.
like 3 15-minute periods outside of that where I took it off Do Not Disturb because I knew that I was expecting a call. But just again, like, this is a thing. Like, it all becomes Pavlovian. It's the cue that initiates a response, and you hear that ding, and you grab for the phone, and you do this, and once you get into the state of, when I check my phone, I also check X. When I check my phone, I also check Instagram. When I check, I do this, I that, the other. You've lost your day. It takes 20 minutes to get into a state of focus, and the average knowledge worker changes their context every minute. So they're just literally going years without hitting a state of focus, and I think that's why you see so much trash.
I love hearing about your phone being on Do Not Disturb since 2022. Mine's been on
January
silent.
2nd. Yeah,
January 2nd, was it?
2022.
So, hang on, why second rather than first? What happened?
So the second was my last day at my corporate role when I was a banker. Yeah.
Oh my God, wow. Yeah, mine's been on silent, but I think it's just funny because some people don't call or don't message because they see that it's on silent and they don't know that it's always on silent.
Yeah, and
but it's nice. I feel like I don't get interrupted by a ping, ping, ping.
Exactly. And like, people now, like, when you call somebody, it's almost like they expect that you get their permission before you call them. It's such a weird, such a weird thing.
Offline.
Yeah. So you just, the way to get around that is and by the way, the Asians have this figured out. Malaysians, Asians, Singapore, like, all of them, voice messages all the time. All they ever do is send voice messages. They're not typing. It's worthless to type. I can say this in 3 seconds. It can take me 30 to type it. And also, when I'm typing it, I'm triggering that response that is going to make me want to look at X, look at Instagram, look at something else, and just continue to distract me.
Yeah, gosh, I remember years ago doing some internet marketing course, and the fellow taking it was talking about setting up a dashboard. And since then, I've always just wanted one inbox. Just give me like all of the different accounts. Like, just give me one inbox so that I can do messages in batch, like you're talking about. I would love that.
That's Nostr. I think Nostr is what.
Yeah, it's lovely that we're talking about focus with Do Not Disturb or silent. I am pretty determined with turning notifications off and unsubscribing. Probably 10 plus years ago, I read something about unsubscribing and like how little amount of time it takes versus how much impact it has. And it's a big impact versus low impact to unsubscribe.
By the way, my favorite Saturday morning activity is to get up, have a cup of coffee, and unsubscribe from things. Just it. Just
so clever.
I'm just gonna have less crap coming my way. And you're right. Like, it does take, and they intentionally make the process difficult sometimes to unsubscribe. If it takes you 2 minutes, then you're probably going to gain that 2 minutes back in the next week from not being triggered by notifications of things that you're not looking at them anyways.
again, back to the refinement that I think is going to come through this next wave of technology. People are going to get more and more refined as to what they need to look at. I hope that we do another one of these because I've so much enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, let's just do another one. Yeah, I would just say just to that, like, take advantage of the information that's presented to you in order to gain a new perspective, because the majority of like social media content is designed to generate engagement, and your engagement is 10 times stronger for something you disagree with than for something you agree with. And so people are incentivized to, try to rile you up. And so when all you see is things that you disagree with, all you're doing is solidifying your one position. Like, you're making yourself very fragile in case you're wrong. Like, you're making yourself very subject to being disrupted. You're making yourself very weak to outside forces that if you're wrong, it means you're wrong in a very big way. So yeah, strong opinions loosely held is a very good thing to keep in mind. Other people can be right, because they often are, and you carry with you all the biases that you've ever had that you're unaware of. Perspective is the thing that you don't know about it till it changes. So that's what I leave you with, I guess. Go outside, put your phone down, leave your phone down. Spend weekends without your phone. This is not an abnormal thing to do. When you drive somewhere, mark out the directions on a piece of paper. Don't follow the GPS all the time. It's amazing how it will change your experience, because you'll actually pay attention to what's around you. I have a Tesla, so that's even worse, right? Like, it drives itself, but I'll take over. But like here, I'm out camping and I've driven this path, probably it's like 12 miles. I've driven it probably 30 times already. And yesterday was the first day I did it. I literally took my jacket and I put it over the screen in the Tesla so I couldn't see it at all. And I noticed everything. I noticed everything as I drove, things that I was completely unaware of along that path. So that's the thing. It's like, if you shut the screen off, you'll start to notice things in your life. And those things don't appear by chance. They are part of your story. I do believe that there is some spiritual thing involved with it as well. And I think that there are signs that you're being shown, but you won't see those signs if you're not looking. So shut off the screen and look for signs. Actually, don't look for signs. You'll know them when they come.
What a beautiful way to end.
Absolutely.
Thanks for listening to the Natural Genius podcast. Please share this with anyone who came to mind, and visit us at naturalgenius.com.au. Thanks so much.